Hello. Let's do this here. I'll put this here. My fan is actually pretty loud, so let me see. Maybe I'll turn it off for a little bit. Alright, so I'm gonna do some politics, and this is gonna get me in trouble because, whatever. I'm not ever gonna gain favor with any viewers because we're always gonna disagree on something. Like I've brought this up before in the last video. I'm pretty sure I brought it up that I have friends that we don't agree politically, but we don't really care. We're still friends and whatever, and we can even talk about politics, and find common ground while still remaining firm in our political beliefs. So it's like politics is so fucking taken over everything, right or wrong, that's where it is. And so you hear all kinds of bullshit on both sides. And then you hear real points, like valid points being made on both sides. And I'll start off, as far as politics go, I'll start off with the Malcolm X quote. Malcolm X said back in the day that liberals are more dangerous to the Negro than conservatives. Now, that really, see, that's coming from a kind of a stance of someone who is fighting for the rights of black people, which is fine, whatever. Whatever. But really, that can be summed up as saying, it's the same thing as saying the liberals are more dangerous to the disenfranchised groups in America. The liberals are more dangerous to the disenfranchised than the conservatives. And this is true, in my opinion. My prideful opinion, this is true. The liberals are more dangerous to the disenfranchised groups in America than the Republicans, or than the conservatives are. They'll both eat the disenfranchised. Okay, both liberals and conservatives will eat the disenfranchised, or as Malcolm X put it, the liberals and the conservatives will both eat the Negro. But despite this, the liberals are more dangerous to the disenfranchised than the conservative. This is true, in my opinion. So let me start off first by describing, like, the majority of the people that I know that are liberals. The majority of them are not disenfranchised. They're like middle to upper middle class. And you see, blacks are not the only disenfranchised group. And that is a lie that liberals try to perpetuate. Colored people are not the only disenfranchised group. And really what it is, the truth of the matter that nobody wants to talk about is it's the poor. It's the poor people that need help, not the middle class. When you see politicians trying to get votes, what's the number one thing they always say is all this wonderful stuff they're going to do for the middle class. No politician, especially running for president, is ever running on a platform where they're saying, we're going to do all this stuff to help the poor class, the lower class. Never. Never. Why is that? Not even Bernie Sanders. None of these guys. That's what makes them worse, is if they're truly a liberal, then they should be running on their political platform should be that they're going to do all this stuff to help the lower class. They're going to focus on the poor and the underclass and the lower class, because those are the people most in need in this country. And Bernie Sanders never ran on that platform. None of them. not Kamala, none of these guys. And see, they're the liberals though. So they're the ones that are claiming that they're for the disenfranchised when they're not. And all you have to do is, just whatever you think of Gandhi was right when he said you can measure a society by how it treats its poor. You can measure a political party by how it treats its poor. And going back to what Malcolm X said, this is true. The liberals are more dangerous to the poor and the disenfranchised than the conservatives. There is no argument they will both cannibalize the poor and disenfranchised groups. Nobody's arguing that. The argument is that the liberals are worse than the conservatives. And Malcolm X said that. Did you know that Martin Luther King is quoted saying that he is more of a conservative? If he had to choose, because they were trying to back him into a corner and ask him if he's a liberal or a conservative. And he admitted that if he had to choose, he would be a conservative before he'd be a liberal. And if you look at Martin Luther King's description of the white moderate in the Birmingham letters, now this is whatever you think about Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and people like this is irrelevant. Like, that's not what this video is about. You could get into all the details about, Martin Luther King was this and Gandhi was that and Malcolm X was this. That's irrelevant right now. I'm just talking about the points that they made. Liar can tell truth. And that doesn't, just because a liar tells the truth doesn't mean that truth isn't true. So when Martin Luther King in the Birmingham letter, he said the greatest stumbling block to the Negro's freedom is not the KKK and the overt racist and all this shit. He said it's the white moderate. And the white moderate is the person that goes along with everything, that says, yes, Martin Luther King, you're right. And is just a fake. They're not really true to equality or helping the disenfranchised. They're just putting on this front for, just for superficial reasons. Like, they're not really truly about anything except for themselves. That's the white moderate. And he said the white moderate is the stumbling block to the Negro's freedom. And when you look at the description of the white moderate, that is your average liberal today. That is your average typical liberal. They claim they care about equality, but they don't really care about anything except for themselves. And they're like I said, the majority of people that I know that are liberals, they're mostly all people that aren't disenfranchised and have never really experienced anything like poverty and all this stuff. And those are the ones that claim that, it's all about equality and all this shit. But they don't care about the poor issue at all. They don't. Let's say a conservative did run, let's say Trump's political platform was that we're going to focus on helping the lower class and the poor people because they're the ones in this country that need the most help. They need the most support right now. And it's been like this for decades, and we need to change. Everybody, we need to start. This is what I'm running on, is we're going to fucking help the poor first. And the middle class, they're doing fine. We don't need to do more shit for the middle. If Trump ran on a platform like that, you think any of these liberals would be like, all right, yeah, no. And then the liberal politician was, their platform was, we're going to do all this stuff to help the middle class. You think that the liberals would vote for who do you think they'd vote for? The person whose platform is, we're going to help all the middle class, or the other person whose platform is, we're going to help the poor? And the middle class can just wait. The liberals are all going to vote for the person who's going to do all this stuff for the middle class. Even though the liberal is the one that claims they care about equality and all this and that, economic inequalities and all that. They don't care about none of that shit. Your average liberal. So the majority of the people that I know that are liberals, they've never even experienced disenfranchisement. They've never experienced any of this shit. But they're supposedly like all about helping the disenfranchised. Well, what disenfranchised group do liberals completely ignore? Homeless, the poor. Look at every single dude. Bernie Sanders was the same. I saw what Bernie Sanders' platform was. It's all the same. These politicians are all the same. It's always what they're going to do to help the middle class. Always. Because all these politicians, they always only tell their constituents what their constituents want to hear. Just like the preacher does it in the church. The preacher tells the congregation what the congregation wants to hear. The politician tells its constituents what its constituents want to hear. It's always the same bullshit. And Trump is the closest thing that's ever come to breaking that mold, where instead of telling people what people want to hear, he just says whatever the fuck he wants. And that's why you got so many people that perceive him as an enemy, because he just tells it how it is, or he tries. At least he tries to tell it how it is, you know. So anyway, so there's like always politics going on. You guys know this. Just like constant politics. And but it's a lot of bullshit, you know. I wanted to say too, like, you know, so I lived in California for a long time, right? And California is really a shitty place. Because if you're middle class, whatever. I mean, it's all right. You're not going to really, if you're like middle to upper middle class and shit, you're going to be whatever. You can find stuff to complain about, but overall it's like whatever, you know. But if you're like lower, possibly even lower middle class, but if, you know, if you're working class and poor and homeless, like it's the worst place in the country to be. If you're below middle class, California is the worst place to be. It is like disgusting, right? And so, like I've experienced that, you know, many years. I've got over 2 decades of experience living in California. They claim they care about equality, but dude, they are the most like they care less about the working class and the poor and the homeless and shit than any other fucking state in this fucking country, dude. And you know, but the mainstream media will present that California doesn't do that, and California is the best place to be if you're, and it's just like a massive lie. It's such a lie. It's terrible. And so people like me who have experienced it from a lower class and homeless and lower class and working class viewpoint, like we know how that's why there's so many, all the people that are fleeing California, the majority of them are the poor and the working class, you know, because it's like a state of slavery. If you're poor and working class, you have the least chance of getting anywhere out of that. If you're poor or working class, and especially if you're homeless. If you're homeless, you're fucked there, because you're stuck in California. And that's the other crazy thing about California is the mainstream media and all the sheeple that parrot all the mainstream media talking points is telling everybody that, oh, California gives all this shit to the homeless. And the homeless people that hear this, they end up going to California to check it out. And it's like Hotel California. It's like that Eagles song, Hotel California. If you're homeless and you end up in California, you're fucked. You'll never get out of there. And if you do, it'll be like you'll lose whatever you do own, whatever little bit that you do own, you'll have to cut ties with it and sacrifice it just to escape that fucking hellscape, dude. Hellhole. And, you know, why do you think there's so many fucking homeless in California? It's because they can't get out. Once you're there, you're stuck there. Anyway, it's just politics really trips me out because of these things that I'm talking about in this video right now. And most people don't have any idea what the fuck is going on when it comes to the lower class, like the poor and the working class and the homeless. And They are completely checked the fuck out. The only people that do know are they themselves, the poor, the working class, and the homeless. Those are the only people that know what's going on with the poor, the working class, and the homeless, all the lower. Those are the only people, because they're not talking about it on mainstream media. And I can guarantee you 100%, they're not talking about it on any of these platforms. Yeah. They're just not. They're just not, man. And I mean, people can say, well, there's this one isolated incident where I saw some video on the YouTube and this and that. And it's like, yeah, well, one isolated incident. Okay. Or no, I have a handful. It's like, anyways, whatever. I got to go later.